Hello and welcome. Welcome back to By the People. My name is Court Booth, and our show brings in a leader in Concord each week. And this might be an appointed official, an elected leader, or a key volunteer in town. And what we're trying to do is bring to our audience information about who does what to make life better. And somebody who works tirelessly for the schools is our Superintendent, Diana Rigby. Good morning.
Good morning, Court.
Before we get too deeply into what you have done during your tenure here, let's back up a little bit. By way of full disclosure, I used to report to you, didn't I? I was the Director of Community Education for some time, also the Director of the Summer School, and had the pleasure of working very closely with you until I retired last year.
So that's the best part of my job. The best part of my job has been working with wonderful, wonderful colleagues like yourself, Court. We have a fabulous, fabulous, highly accomplished professional staff in Concord and Concord Carlisle. And wonderful families, great students, and beautiful facilities because of the wonderful support from our communities. So as I tell my superintendent colleagues, I have been fortunate to enjoy the best superintendency, not only in Massachusetts, but I definitely think in the States. So I really appreciate and thank the communities for this wonderful opportunity. We have a preschool, an integrated preschool, which we're very proud about. So we serve students starting at 3 years old. And then we have 3 elementary schools, Alcott, Thoreau, and Willard. And their enrollment has fluctuated. We have seen enrollment as high as over 500, 520, but now we're back down to, which has been pretty stable, around about 440. And
In each
elementary
of the 3.
school.
Okay.
Yes, and what is curious is that some year it will be Alcott that has the highest enrollment. Other years it might be Willard. At one point, of course, as soon as Willard was built as a brand new school, we saw an increase in enrollment. And it really depends on the neighborhoods as they change. But typically, you know, for the last 10 years, we've seen about 440, 450 in the elementary schools. And then, you know, in our middle school, we serve between 600 and 700. And right now, we're just hovering under 700. We have 2 buildings, of course, the Peabody building and the Sanborn building. But it is one middle school. And it served us well when you serve middle school students and you have a smaller number of students, because then you can assure that every single adult on the campus knows each student very, very well. And when you are 11, 12, and 13, it serves you well that you're at your school, that all the adults know you personally and support you and surround you with support, because those are challenging years.
Those
and then,
are
of
challenging years for the educators too, and that's why I think you bring that up as an area of special attention for you as a superintendent.
Sure. And then, of course, our brand new high school, which we're really proud about, and that enrollment has fluctuated as well. Right now, we're about 1272. We've seen it go as high as over 1,300, and I think that right now we're pretty stable, and our enrollment projections indicate for the next 5 to 10 years we're going to remain relatively stable. So it's at 3,324 students altogether.
Well, let's go back to where you started, the integrated preschool. By integrated, do you mean it integrates students that will be entering those 3 elementaries, or is there more to it than that?
Well, we're really proud that we serve our students with special education needs with their peers in a setting for 3, 4, and 5-year-olds.
I see.
So they will go to the various elementary schools depending on their attendance area. But we provide those services to support them and help them be prepared for kindergarten.
I understand. Okay.
And that's at the Ripley building, which for us who are in the district office is a huge pleasure in that we have what we consider an early childhood center is part of our offices, as you know, because Adult and Community Ed at one time was housed there.
Correct.
But what really is wonderful for us is that in the district office, you are not necessarily spending time with children, yet that's your focus, is supporting students and teachers, so it's nice to have the Early Childhood Center. And we also have our Concord Children's Center as our partner, and they serve very young, they serve toddlers. So it's wonderful to have that at our office at Ripley.
So we have the Ripley building as not an off-site per se for administrators, but rather yet another educational center in
Yes.
town. Tell us about the way that we're structured insofar as we have a town school district, if you will, Concord Public Schools, but then also a regional school district. And you wear those two hats, do you not?
Which is highly unusual, and I think we're just one of two in the entire state of Massachusetts. Massachusetts has 350 school districts, and we are very unique in that we have an administration that serves two districts. The 912 Regional District, which supports Concord families and Carlisle families, grades 9 through 12. And then, of course, the town is the pre-K to 8th grade.
You mentioned the challenges of middle school. I think we have facility challenges, if I'm correct. We have the two buildings, one middle school model that's unusual and perhaps a challenge. And we have the challenging middle school years where we want students to receive tremendous support and have go-to adults, if you will, supporting them at all times. We have external pressures in the world that are probably transforming educational needs at the middle school. How do you bring all of that together and define your leadership around where the middle school needs to go?
Sure. So first of all, we've hired the very best faculty. So that's one of the pleasures of working in Concord and Concord Carlisle. For the past 14 years, we've hired the majority of the faculty, and they are highly professional, accomplished educators, and that's the key. And that is I would say that is the guarantee to families in Concord and Concord Carlisle, is that we will provide the very best teacher for your student in the classroom, and that's how you provide the very best education. It's really about the professionals that are serving the students. And our responsibility, or my direct responsibility, is to ensure that we hire the very best leaders of the school site and provide all the resources and support that the leaders need, so collectively they can focus their professional staff and their classified staff or support staff for the benefit of students. And when I talk about benefit of students, what we focus on is each and every student achieving at the highest level that they can, as well as ensuring that each and every student knows that they belong, they're loved for and cared for, and we serve them with compassion in the classroom and at the school site.
I've always had a notion that you can perhaps correct if necessary, that there would be great pressures in any school, and Concord Carlisle would be no exception, great pressures to focus on students with significant learning needs. Let's pour some resources there where they're so needed. And also attention would be perhaps given to the high-performing students who are so thirsty, so hungry for more support, resources, attention, which leaves the group in the middle, one that needs attention. How do you balance the different voices in the different classrooms, all of which deserve attention, but different kinds of attention?
Well, I think we begin with our core values and a core belief that we focus on each and every student. So it's not a zero-sum game.
One gets, one doesn't.
Correct.
It would be zero-sum.
Correct, okay. And it's not a zero-sum game. It is a relentless focus on each and every student and having the highest quality professionals working with those students that collectively have agreed upon what their vision is at their school site for their community. How are we going to work and how are we going to learn as a community of learners at this school site, and what do we hope to accomplish each and every day, each and every week, each and every month, and at the end of the year. So you're not waiting until midway or at the end of the year. We closely monitor the progress of each and every student. In addition, we also provide joy. learning is a joyful process. It's a social community process, and everyone comes to work as professionals, filled with, oh, very exciting, this is going to be a joyful experience, as well as for students to be excited. And that's the part of my job that I totally embrace and enjoy myself, is being in the classrooms, being at the school sites, and observing all the kinds of activities and projects and the outcomes of what students are participating in. Our students have wonderful opportunities. They are producing wonderful, wonderful work and projects and all the extracurricular activities that they're engaged in. Their accomplishments are amazing.
So we've got lots of quantitative data. I know you have the school report there
Oh,
about some
yes,
of the
we're very
accomplishments.
proud.
But you refer to the qualitative information we can provide about the if you will, the environment, the culture, the nature of the experience for students that isn't always measured in hard numbers.
And that's what we spend a lot of time considering, focusing on, using the feedback to make changes, to improve our practices, because it's not just about academic achievement. It's about ensuring that each student has a wide range of opportunities to explore arts, athletics, music, social emotional development, civic responsibilities, being part of a community, contributing to your community. We're very proud that our students engage in a wide range of philanthropic activities.
What would be one of those examples of a philanthropic initiative?
Sure, at the very young age, our students recognize that not everyone has food every day that they need, and so they participate in collecting canned food and other food products for Open Table, and they do that every year at every school site. And it's through their generosity of their families, and students understand that that's their responsibility. In addition, in the winter, they do Coats for Kids. It's another example. So they are participating in ensuring that that those who are less advantaged have just some basic necessities, and they recognize that.
And to the person who would challenge the notion that this is central to the educational mission, there are standardized tests to be had. There are core curriculum demands to be accomplished. Where does the attention to the food drive or another philanthropic initiative come into play? How does that fit into the stated goals of the school district?
Well, we work with 5 core values. And so our practices and our activities reflect those 5 core values, and one value is respectful and empathic community. Okay. So, and because our staff is so sophisticated and professional, they're able to interweave the development of contributing to your community through lenses, different lenses, to make it more interdisciplinary. So their focus is study on geography or community, and any way they can weave it in is that component of giving back. So that's because we have a highly professional faculty.
And let's look at our teaching staff. Imagine that you have a teacher candidate who is coming your way. And we in Metro West have many a good school district. We would perhaps find it difficult to differentiate Concord on the basis of pay or perhaps even school climate. But I know you'd make the case for why Concord is the place for this stellar candidate. What would you say if they were weighing a few offers from other fine school districts in the area? How would you get them to land here?
Well, here's the best part.
Yeah.
It's not me that gets them to land here, because our process involves the school site and the grade level teams prior to meeting with me. So when you're a candidate, you will meet your colleagues at the school site, and they are the key. because that's who you're working with every day. So our candidates are so excited because they have the opportunity to meet the Willard team, to meet the Willard principal or Alcott or the high school department, the department chairs, the students. So they have already had that opportunity. So when they come to me, they are already so excited. They just want the job so badly in Concord and Carlisle. So it's not myself that has to sell it. It is our colleagues and our students and the school site. It's the school community that has already sold candidates on this is the place to be.
Well, we've been looking at the Concord Public Schools and Concord Carlisle. Let's turn it to you, our superintendent. You had a certain career path that got you here. Were you in the classroom at one point? How did you arrive as our educational leader in town? I know it's a long story.
That's the point, Court. I'm chuckling because do I remember?
What are some of those highlights along the way?
Well, I guess the highlights would be is the students that I've worked with and colleagues. So it's always the people I've had the pleasure of working with. And so I guess when you think about, what are you most proud about? I've always been proud about students that I've worked with and their accomplishments and my colleagues and the opportunity to participate in educational settings in which colleagues have, we highlight the colleagues' accomplishments. But yes, I started in special education.
Okay.
I've worked with all ages of students. I've also taught at the university level, so I've worked with very young students with disabilities all the way up to pre-service young people who wanted to be teachers at a college in California. And I have worked in many districts in special education, administration. I worked in a county office in California in which we provided many, many hours of professional development to both general educators and special educators. I have had administrative positions focusing in special ed as well as student services, regular ed. So I've really been so fortunate.
We know that when you finish your tenure here this summer, you will have a new superintendent follow in your footsteps.
Yes, fabulous.
Is that transition underway right now?
Yes, it is. We're so thrilled that Dr. Lori Hunter from Duxbury is going to assume the responsibilities July 1. Mm-hmm. We've had a great opportunity to meet her and work with her on several occasions. She was with us last night at Carlisle Town Meeting. Mm-hmm. She was with us at the Concord Town Meeting, and she's very fortunate. She has a great admin team, very supportive school committee. She's very excited about taking over and leading Concord and Concord Carlisle, and she'll do a fabulous job. And yes, we've the next 2 months we're spending time together to hand over the mantle, so yes.
I think it'd be safe to say that Concord has been very successful in protecting teachers from politics. Their job is to teach. But that's not what we could say about a superintendent. A superintendent does live a political life in that you manage resources and try to affect change. What have you learned in your years in Concord about how to be an effective change agent? It's different in Concord than perhaps other communities. How did you adapt so you could be successful here?
Sure. So I think it's what I had known, and I think it's emphasized, especially in areas which have already enjoyed success. So when you are taking over or leading an organization that has been successful in the past, then you want to carefully honor the aspects of success that everybody treasures, and then you move slowly to move quickly.
Explain that.
Okay. That you want to take your time to really understand. You seek understanding first. Understand all that everyone you're working with, as well as how all the different organizations partner with you before you are moving ahead. And it's really about galvanizing the support around the vision or ideas of where you want to go. So it's not your vision necessarily, although as a leader you certainly have some very important ideas, but it's really about galvanizing a collective vision, and you have to gain support, and that's around building relationships. So you're building relationships through trust and respect, and when you're building that, it takes time. So I would say that's the part about to go fast, you move slowly, and the move slowly part is it takes time to build trust and respect, and that is focused on building the relationships with the different community organizations, and we have over 700 employees. So it's really important that each employee knows that as a leader that you value each and everyone's contribution. Just like in a classroom, as a teacher, it was very important for me that every student, and I taught elementary, that every student knew that they would say, Mrs. Rigby loves me. That was I was very clear whether, and they all would be able to say that, and I worked really hard in the relationship so they could say that, and they knew that. At the same time, you apply that with adults. It's every adult in your organization needs to know that they matter and that you care for them and that you're going to work with them with compassion. I mean, so that takes time.
Understand the complex nature of all of these different constituencies and understand the focus of all of this, which is that student, and put that complex recipe together.
Yes.
Okay.
And take time to build those relationships, and then collectively develop a vision on what is best for students. And then that will drive you to making specific action plans or a strategic plan, which we've recommended. That I think is probably going to be the next step, is that it's been a number of years since we've brought different community organizations together and the community around a strategic plan for the K-12 system. And so we've been discussing that with the school committee and with Lori, and I think you can anticipate. I think you can anticipate that will be the next step, because there's some big projects that probably need to have some consideration, one of which being the middle school facility.
Sure, okay. We, early in our conversation, referred to the relative stability as compared to some other periods in time in terms of activity within Concord and Carlisle schools, and yet we know the world hasn't slowed down. I was reading in the today in material from the World Economic Forum that core competencies in most jobs will fundamentally change. What we know now is not going to be there in a decade.
Correct.
And this means that we are constantly adapting to an uncertain future. Could you tell us what's going on in the public schools, or perhaps one example, I'm sure there are many, one example of how we're trying to do the necessary projection of future needs? How do we educate today for what we don't know about tomorrow?
And we spend a lot of time discussing what are the critical skills, knowledge, and attitudes that we want young people to develop by the time they leave our system. So students are in our system for 19 years, kindergarten through 12th grade, and we are 13 years, I'm sorry, they're 19 when they leave, but the 13 years. But so we think about what kinds of behaviors, skills, that we're developing in partnership with parents, because our work is always partnership with parents. And so we think about critical thinking skills, reasoning skills, attitudes in which you're able to interact with, listening, speaking, interacting with all community members, different global competencies, different cultures, cultural understanding, cultural proficiency, because our young people will be in a world in which they're interacting with all different languages, with people who speak different languages, people from different cultures. So that has been a change, is the global competency, global proficiency. But the basic skills are really critical thinking, reasoning skills, and problem solving collaboratively. So you are working, our young people will be working in groups many, many times. They will develop, of course, the basic reading and writing skills in which they can, and thinking skills in which they can develop an opinion, provide support with evidence. They can research, in which they understand which is good research versus poor information on the internet, and use all the digital tools to help them communicate to wider audiences, as well as to persuade others about their own opinion, analyze information. You know, it's all the analytical thinking skills, reasoning skills, that, as well as developing the whole aspect of social emotional development, in which you yourself understand who you are and are confident in your skills, and then you can be a contributor to the greater community.
So if I'm correct, I hear you saying, in effect, what are the skills that are most transferable to an unknown future that can enable every student to adapt skillfully, quickly to global change, to local change, to the need to learn and learn again, because there will be new skills to acquire even after they leave the Concord Public Schools and beyond college as well.
And of course, we want them to be successful with the academic content. You know, we want our students to be successful. And then we also talk about the skills of persistence, resilience, grit, because when you're faced with problems, you need to work through them and be able to work through them, as I said, collaboratively with people that you may not know. And you may be working virtually, online with groups of people you don't know. And it's a problem that you're just going to have to persist at resolving.
As a Concord citizen, I received the performance report in the mail. If I can't find it and want to do more homework, is it online?
Yes, it is, and we're really proud of our website. We have a wonderful webmaster, and all of our information is up to date, and all the information that we have in any kind of paper form is all posted on the website, so all of our information is online. And that's been one of the major transformations of our district office in the past 10 years, as we've moved to a paperless environment, and we've automated many, many of our infrastructure processes.
We have our financial investment in our schools represented in that report. We have our hopes for the future represented in that report, in that it's a snapshot of where we are today and where we're going. So I will say, so you don't have to, I think we should all take a look at that if we haven't done so. As we finish up, and I wish we had more time, but as we finish up, you have been an educational leader here and at the helm for some years now. You are going to leave Concord and Carlisle behind this summer. I want to wish you the very, very, very best.
Thank you,
and
Court.
thank you for your years of service. You used the word relentless about the eager and enthusiastic approach that teachers bring to the classroom. I know that with more time we'd be talking about many of the relentless ways you work to move the schools forward, and we want to thank you for that. To finish up, I know you've probably had to put a few things on hold while you paid attention to the Concord and Concord-Carlisle Public Schools. What's one of the things that you're keen on doing a bit more of in retirement?
Okay, so I'm a lifelong learner. So there's two things that I want to learn as I move ahead, and that is I'm going to learn how to play golf because I love the outdoors, and I'm an athlete, and I play a lot of the other sports, but I don't golf yet, so I'm going to learn to play golf. And I'm also going to learn Spanish because I'm going back to California. So Spanish and golf.
Okay, all right. Well, I want to thank Diana Rigby very, very much for joining us today, and more importantly for her years of service in the Concord and Concord-Carlisle Public Schools. It's been our pleasure to be with you today. I know I speak for Diana when I say that. Thanks for joining us, and Diana, all the best.
Thank you so much, Court. Appreciate it.
It's been a pleasure.